I wish I could just tell the part of me that was going through those ups and downs in the last couple of years, like, just trust, just know you will have your opportunity to do this. And people will, show up, and you will feel fulfilled and feel incredibly grateful. So just know it's coming.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
I was lucky enough to be in the audience the night Nicolette Robinson first stepped on the Broadway stage as the star of the musical Waitress. She sat down with me to talk about that night in particular and the work in general.
Did you always dream of being on Broadway, starring in a musical?
I think I did. I always dreamed of being a performer and being on the stage and on television. But when I first fell in love with theater, it was when I was I fell in love with theater, first by just listening to cast albums all the time, and also growing up around it. My mom was a choreographer, and my dad was also, he directed a lot, and they both were performers when they were kids and, young adults. And so I grew up watching regional theater and high school productions and, local stuff in Los Angeles. And I took my first trip to New York when I was 13 with my mom and my sister. And seeing a Broadway show for the first time was unreal. And so I think I've always kind of had in the back of my mind, I want to get there. But sometimes, you try to make your dreams feel more reasonable and reachable, So I think that was always a dream. But I think I always set my bar a little bit lower and really just wanted to experience the love and the joy of just being on stage. So being on Broadway is for sure at the top of the dream list, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's almost like there's only there's people that have been dreaming it from the moment of that. But then there's people that didn't even dare to dream that.
Right.
That's what most people probably don't even want to put the energy into that dream because so few people.
There's fear in that, yeah. You kind of are afraid to ask for something that seems so major. One, because it's not easy to get there, but two, because once you get there, that means you got to do it, and you got to be good, and you got to push yourself and be up for the challenge. And but I think that's part of why so many actors do what they do, to be challenged and to be scared and to push themselves into dangerous, exciting territory.
Yes. I was lucky enough to be there on your first time on Broadway, and then I was lucky enough to talk to you afterwards. Yeah. And I said, I told you, and it's really true, that if somebody was in the audience that didn't know that this was your first time, when they handed you the flowers afterwards, they could imagine, it's her last time. She's been doing this long. So I want to get into the preparation work that went into it to make me think that. When I'm sitting there, I was feeling so much pressure that I was imagining you were feeling. But when you came up there, it was so poised. It's not just this is your first time on Broadway. It's a lot of the audience was filled with people. You and your husband are in the theater community, so it's all these people there that are on different stages.
Oh yeah, people whose work I deeply respect, who have become dear friends. But yeah, you're with your peers, you're with people that you admire, people that you want to work with, and then also just people that you never have met, and fans and lovers of the theater who you just want to deliver for.
Right.
Yeah.
And then for you to be stepping into this play that's already going and has a history a little bit of a couple of years already now. Mm-hmm. So there's so many layers of pressure that you didn't seem to be affected by. But talk to me about, what I would like to know, and we can expand it. Yeah. Tell me about that day. and what your preparation was like, and if it's typical for a normal day that you're there, or if it was different on that day. Or
that day was a little crazy. I mean, the day was jam-packed with stuff to do. Not on purpose, but I think I woke up and I had to, figure out the social media stuff. It's also like a thing you have to try and stay on top of, because so many people are so supportive and excited about this this journey that I've embarked on. I want to make sure I include people in on it and try to hold my end of the bargain of sharing the experience. And but God, that day, it's like slightly a blur because it was so, I was so nervous. I was so excited and so emotional too. I mean, we'll talk about it more, I'm sure, but this show connects with me so deeply. I've been in love with this show since it opened on Broadway in 2016. And it, after the last couple of years of my life have been very, intense and exciting, and I became a mom. I have a 17-month-old daughter now, and my husband was in Hamilton, which was a crazy roller coaster ride for us, and it's been like the last couple of years have been very fast and furious, and with enormous change, and so Waitress kind of, in a funny way, Waitress, the musical, the cast album, served as a grounding for me. I put that music on all the time when I needed some sort of escape or uplifting, or if I needed to like cry, I would put on that cast album and just like sing to it, like all through my pregnancy too. My husband was shooting a movie while I was pregnant. And I was apart from him for about 3 months of my pregnancy. And that was like so emotional and challenging. And this cast album, again, just was there for me. And it's just so crazy how I just, loved it so much, the show and the album. And and it just, I never, like we talked about with dreams, I never really even dared to dream that I could be in this show. So it really just served as like a support system for me and like an old friend. So to turn around a couple years later and be opening in my first Broadway show starring in this musical, it was just incredibly emotional and incredibly, it just felt like I was in the right place, on the right track. It's just one of those moments where you kind of like look at the universe or God or whatever you believe in, and you're like, okay, I'm going to trust a little bit more. So yeah, so that morning, that's a very roundabout, long answer to your question, but that morning was incredibly emotional for me, and that whole day, and the amount of support and love that was coming my way from people, it was just so wonderful. And so then I got to the theater early that day because they were going to announce that Al Roker is coming into the show. And so we had to do a photo shoot together that day at the theater in costume, and so I did that. I met him. He's very lovely, very sweet. And then I got back to my dressing room and thought I had like 2 hours before the show to get ready, but then you get knocks on the door from stage management or from the associate director or the director or whoever, and people are just coming in to like remind you things or give you notes. So by the time I looked at the clock and was like, oh crap, we're at half hour now and gotta we're gonna put the wig on, we're gonna make sure all the makeup's on. By the time we got to like places, I was kind of like fully had just gone through a whirlwind of the day, and I was a little nervous, a little more. I mean, I was so nervous, but I was even more nervous because I like hadn't really had a moment to myself to kind of drop in and ground myself. So, but I also just had to trust that my process was complete. I felt like I had a month of rehearsals. I had couple years of loving on this cast album and like knowing this music within the depths of my soul, and just like my love for this character. So I just was like, okay, let's do this. So, I mean, for me, right before the curtain went up, I was so nervous. I mean, you could just hear the audience. It was an electric night. The room was just, the energy was so palpable and special. So there was that excitement and that support that I just felt, and they were clapping before we even opened the curtain, and and my cast was so excited and supportive, and so literally the only moment I had to myself was right as the lights went down, as I'm standing behind the curtain, which you saw the beginning of the show. The show starts with the curtain rising, and I'm just standing there in the center of the stage, which that scared the crap out of me as well. But I just take that moment right before that curtain goes up to just focus and think, okay, what is the most important thing right now that I'm trying to communicate? Who am I trying to communicate to? Is there like one person in the audience? If anybody, sometimes I just I make it simpler and just cut it down to like one person I'm trying to reach. Obviously, you're trying to reach the whole room of 1,000 people, but sometimes I think, okay, there's a woman sitting in this audience who's in a very complicated, difficult relationship that she's been trying to get out of. She's sitting there and she needs this this push, this inspiration, this source of courage or something. So, I'll just, sometimes there actually is a person that I know that I feel like is in the audience, but I imagine of the 1,000 people sitting in there, there's someone who is there for food, to be fed, and that's what I feel like my job is. So I try to just like think of that one thing before the show starts, and that usually just gives me an intention to kind of, push the beginning of the show forward.
Wow.
Yeah.
In your Instagram thing that day, talked about how this was a difficult pregnancy for you, with your husband being away, and how you connected, and you used to use this to cry.
Oh, yeah.
And for you to have gotten through that without bawling with all of the emotion, you're feeling everything, this love from everybody. You're feeling what this means to you. I can't even listen to the song. I'm listening to you talking, I'm crying. I mean, so like this is the wonder of the actor to me. Like this is the wonder of the process. How you only had one little moment there, and you focused it, and that probably got you through. And it's like, right? I mean, but one thing that happened that I was surprised about, there was a standing ovation for you in the middle, right after She Used to Be Mine. It wouldn't let up. Yeah. They wouldn't let you go. They wouldn't let the show go on.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like you just got through that, and it was probably a relief to get through that song, right?
Oh, sure. I mean, at that point in the show, we're so far in on the journey. Like, I think the nerves immediately go away for me once we're like on the journey. So like in the first act, once I make it through like my first big song, What Baking Can Do. So once we're like 15 minutes into the show, I kind of feel like, okay, we're on this car. Let's just, keep it moving. So, but at that point, for me, I'm such an emotional person in general. I'm an empath. I think most performers are. And you take on so much emotion and stuff in life. So for me, it's such a relief to be able, it's such a gift to be given when you are able to release emotion on the stage and through your work. And so that song for me is actually, I don't really feel pressure when I'm singing. It feels so therapeutic to get through. I mean, because, you've been on this journey with her, and it's like a climactic moment in the show, and without, spoiling anything for people who haven't seen the show, it's just, it's a very intense, very heartbreaking, difficult moment, but it's a moment in which she finally is looking at herself hitting rock bottom, and she's just trying to figure out how she got there. And in a way, when you realize you hit rock bottom, you can only go up from there. And so once you kind of can release that, and I just like that song, the way Sara Bareilles wrote that song, it's just like you said, you can't listen to it without crying, because it's just so filled with emotion and soul, and the words are so beautiful, and the music is so beautiful, and the melody and everything. So it just all pieces together to like lead you through this, this journey in a way that feels completely organic, at least for me. And I'm sure because I'm so connected to the music and my own story with it, there are nights where I do, have flashes of myself when I was pregnant and going through this hard time. And, it's kind of therapeutic in a way to be able to let that stuff out and let it mirror your own experience, and also let it be something completely different as well. But my husband and I were talking about that at the end of that song. It's, as a the performer in me, I was like, I was not expecting that response, and for opening night, I think it was like even more explosive. But it's still every night, every performance after that, it does get the applause does tend to go on for a bit. I mean, depending on the audience, but the humble, the let me not waste time part of me is like, okay, I'm just gonna keep going. Like once they sort of start to die down, let me just push forward and do it. And my husband talked to me, and he was like, you shouldn't try and end the applause before we're done applauding, because of that moment, because it's so emotional, because you've given so much of your heart in that moment, because that song is written so beautifully, and the way that moment is crafted, the way that the creative team has made that, we as an audience need to release as well. We need to scream out. We need to, applaud, and it's a release for everyone in that theater, And so I try to wait until I really feel like the audience is ready to kind of stop applauding before I move it forward. So I'm not halting their experience and their need to release whatever they're feeling from that, because it's a very emotional moment. I feel like we all kind of go through that roller coaster together in that room.
Your husband gave a speech that night at the party, and I was away from it and I couldn't hear, and so I talked to him a little bit later, and he said something like the shadow of Hamilton is it's such a relief to be out of it. And it's such an interesting way to put it, because there's all different kinds of struggles. This is a unique struggle that you've had, you guys had. Your life was changed suddenly, and especially you, to come out of that shadow and stand in the light, to use a metaphor and be really, really cheesy, but and you can feel him, this happiness about this. The whole night was filled with that. But just tell me a little bit about that for you, and that part of the journey to the stage. Yeah.
First, my husband has been the most, just father and husband of the year. He's just fully risen to this occasion and been the most supportive dream partner to have. And, I'm just so grateful that it's just so amazing how everything is aligned in such a beautiful way for this moment, because, he works so much and he spends so much time you know, out of town and working, and we're always trying to figure out, okay, let's figure out when you can get back. And he flies on his like one day off to come be with us and the family. And, you know, his schedule is crazy, and we're so grateful for it because it's, you know, what we want to be doing. And we have to push now so that eventually, hopefully, we can have a little more, you know, dedicated free time. But it was pretty amazing how the last couple months have been really, like, he's been mostly in New York working, which has been such a gift. He's been around to help with the baby and to help me and to just like experience this beautiful moment in the way that I was able to experience Hamilton with him. But yeah, so Hamilton was, I mean, one of the best things that could have ever happened to, you know, his career and to our family and all that. And we also gained so much family from that show as well. I mean, so many incredible blessings. But yeah, it was pretty challenging as well. I mean, people look at it and they're like, wow, your lives are perfect. You are friends with celebrities and you're in the best show that's been written in years, and you're, you know, and your career is taken off from it. But it came with some really intense challenges of just like, for me, what Les spoke of that night was he was acknowledging that I, for the last couple of years, took on the role of supportive wife and kind of just tried to make peace with being that person that's like elbowed to the side when somebody's trying to get to Les, or, you know, we're in a room full of people, like, people just want to talk to him, and they want to, you know, for the first year of Hamilton, I mean, I truly couldn't have a conversation with anyone without them asking about Hamilton. I felt like that it was just, you know, we were engulfed by it. And so it was a tricky thing because it was such a beautiful and special and important time for us. But yeah, it came with, you know, you try to balance it out and be like, I'm grateful, I'm so grateful, but this is really hard. And so yeah, what he pointed out was, you know, from Hamilton, straight after that, I got pregnant, and then you kind of, when you go through the journey of pregnancy, you give your body and your emotions and just your whole self over to the, you know, growth of this human being and the birthing of this human being. And so I kind of lost myself a little bit in the last couple of years. I kind of got used to suppressing and pushing down the feelings that you don't fully want to acknowledge, because you're like, everything is great and this is so wonderful, so I'm not gonna let that person who just blew me off bother me, or I'm not gonna let that one, you know, but it starts to pile up, and then you push it down, and then you realize, okay, but where are my needs? What am I, you know, I think women also kind of go through that a lot, where we just, especially moms, you know, you give so much of yourself that you kind of forget that it's important to make sure you're giving to yourself as well, and that you're balancing it out with, you know, finding your passion, finding what you need, and setting time aside for you, and knowing your worth and your importance. And that was a big thing, is like, when you can, that in combination with being an actor and hearing no, you know, 90% of the time, you just get used to that. And so you have to remind yourself somehow, I am worth this, or I am gonna, you know, someone will see. and you try not to also make it about what other people think or see, but you know, sometimes that's part of it. But I think the biggest thing for me was that I just wanted so badly to share, you know, some of what I have to offer, and to speak and to be heard, and to have, you know, my voice contributing to this art that I love so much. And at a certain point after I gave birth to my daughter Lucille, it took a while before I was emotionally ready to get back to work, and still it's hard, but there was a point where I was like, I need to express myself. I need to speak and be heard and be seen. And so this just feels like all of that was bringing me to this moment. All of that was worth it. All of the difficulties and the challenges, it really made me ready for this moment. And I think, and I say this all the time, I wish I could just tell the part of me that was going through those ups and downs in the last couple of years, like, just trust, just know you will have your opportunity to do this, and people will show up, and you will feel fulfilled and feel, incredibly grateful. So just know it's coming and enjoy these moments, because there's so much joy. There was so much joy in all of it, and amongst all the challenges. I think if in those darker moments, I just wish I could tell myself, just trust.
Another person I spoke to that night, Charity Dawson.
Yeah.
Okay, who did Nurse Norma.
Yeah, in the original cast. Yeah.
And I asked her, what does this mean to you that Nicolette Robinson is starring in Waitress now? And she said that it really hit her during the bows. And she said because she knows the play, and she knows that when Becky, played by Natasha Yvette Williams, normally that's the last person of color to take a bow. But to just know that one last person of color, the star, was going to be coming out, really impacted her. And I found that very moving. And I wanted to just know what that aspect of this whole journey has been for you.
Yeah.
If you can put words to that.
I continue to try to put words to it. It's, I'm still finding those words, because it is beyond important and special and necessary. And just after each show, going to the stage door and seeing such a diverse group of people standing there waiting to get my autograph, and I'm just, and just to speak and to meet me and to share either their connection with this show, or what it means to see a Black woman up on that stage, or how the performance moved them because of something that they're going through. I mean, it's hard. I mean, I'll you've seen how emotional the show is for me, so I go through a full emotional journey just on the stage, but then I come out to the stage door and I just want to cry all over again, because of the stories and the people and the love and the gratitude that I am met with, where I really feel I understand, why I get thanked for it, but truly I feel like I feel the most grateful. Sometimes I can't even understand how I'm standing in this position, but I just hope, I'm just so grateful that this is happening, and I hope that this means just so many more doors open for so many other people who, are of all different backgrounds and colors and all the things. But yeah, I mean, I've never seen so many Black people, Asian people, Latino people like European, just like people from all over, white people, just, it's really beautiful. And I think that this story is just also so universal in a way. There's so many things about this story that connect with different individuals. I mean, it's not just one thing. There's always somebody who has some sort of different, connection, or was moved by the show, by something. And so to really open it up and make it a universal story that's told from the perspective of a Black woman. And it's not about me being a Black woman. You know, that's the crazy thing. That's the amazing thing. You know, growing up, there weren't many Black roles leading musicals. I mean, especially in this way. I mean, to really carry a show and to watch a Black woman up on that stage, or, you know, any woman of color, it's rare. It was. Yeah, I saw Aida for the first time when I was 13, when I came to see, you know, my first Broadway shows, and I just was completely blown away. And that, seeing someone up on that stage, was what allowed me to push my dreams into motion. To actually, sometimes you need to see things to believe it, you know, and that's why this is important, because young people need to see, you know, that it's possible for them to be up on that stage as well, you know. And so that's why people, you know, cry to me at the stage door, and then I just, you know, I tell them, stop, I've been crying all night, I don't want to cry now too. But it is really special. It's for sure an honor, and I don't take it lightly at all.
Now, if you had everything the way you need it,
Yeah.
what would happen today, the rest of the day, leading up to that curtain coming up?
Yeah.
Like, what do you need to have happen?
I try to leave an hour and a half before my curtain goes up for me to be at the theater, in my space, starting to get myself together, you know, putting my makeup on or warming up my voice. I always steam. I use this steamer called the Pure Mist, which just like helps to warm up my chords and everything. Yeah, I just try to give myself some time to just drop in and ground myself. If it doesn't happen, it's, you know, it still works. You just have to, again, take that moment before the curtain goes up to make sure I'm really just focused in and ready to tell this woman's story. But yeah, after this, I'll go home, spend a little time with my daughter, rest a little bit. I'm super tired these days, but it's hard to sleep. But at least just get some rest and have, you know, a little bit of protein before the show. I pretty much eat the same thing every day. Do teriyaki chicken with brown rice and vegetables, and then yeah, I just put on some music usually before the show starts. A lot of times I put Sara Bareilles on and use that to warm up my voice a little bit, and also to just ground myself again. I think it's all about dropping it in, because that's the most important thing for me when I go on the stage. Is I just want to be as honest as I can. I want to be connected with the people on the stage with me, and I want to just be in the moment so that each show can be what it's going to be. You know, that's the beauty of live theater, is every show is different depending on what you're entering the space with, or how you deliver this line, or how you're feeling, or how the audience is feeling. And so as long as I'm in a space that's open to receive and listen and give back to my scene partners just in the most dropped-in way I can, that's the goal. And then trusting, like, that the show itself and the story and the music is, you know, it's been built to to function. So I just have to, like, bring my end of it to the theater and let it all flow.
If after this, you just keep getting pelted with Broadway roles, and you find yourself in Broadway for the next 10 years, what part of your inner actor would be like, this is great, but...
Yeah. The theater is my first love. There's nothing, I mean, for me, when you're in a show that is good and is telling an important story, and and allows you to go on a full emotional journey and sing and, you know, all those things, that's a dream for sure. And if I continue to get, shows like this that make me feel fulfilled and like I'm communicating the passionate things that I need to express, then yeah, sure, why not? But I would love to, balance it out and do more television and enter into the film world. And for me, it's more about what story am I telling? Like whatever it is that comes after this, whether it's theater or television or film, I'm so open to whichever ones those are. I just hope that it can be a story that I am passionate about telling. And I feel so lucky to get to give so much of myself in this role. So I just hope that whatever comes next allows me to express, whatever it is that I feel like I need to express right now. I just hope it's important to someone, to me. I think you can only do, good work in something if you feel like it's important to you, if you feel like it needs to be told. But yeah, whatever it is, I just want it to be something I'm passionate about. I'm not super there are some performers that just want to work and it doesn't matter what the content is or what, how deep you have to go. But I really just hope that my career continues to allow me to dig and challenge myself and express as much of myself and this character as I need to.
I hope so too, and I'm very excited about your career.
Thank you.
Nicolette Robinson, thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you so much.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of IFP, the Independent Filmmaker Project. It's produced by Spencer Rain. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your podcasts.